In this video, I will be talking about the space exploration type of sci-fi. So sci-fi like Ex Machina or Matrix does not count. I would like to note that Mass Effect may have taken influence from a lot of other existing sci-fi movies or stories that came before. But to me, even after having watched Star Wars as a kid and as an adult, Mass Effect is what inspired me to like sci-fi space exploration type of stories. I watched the Chronicles of Riddick, Avatar, and Star Trek, played Warframe, Warhammer 40k, and StarCraft, just to name a few space exploration themed sci-fi, and I liked most of them, but I still like Mass Effect better. I was not a fan of space exploration until Mass Effect. I did not really appreciate space exploration and alien technology before Mass Effect. So if there are any space exploration stories you know that is similar and surpasses Mass Effect, please do share. Mass Effect is the sci-fi universe I first appreciated. It may be inspired by a combination of many other sci-fi that came before, but Mass Effect made a universe so big and believable, I'm simply amazed. So why is Mass Effect the best space exploration type of sci-fi in my opinion? Basically, it's the sufficient lore I found in-game, and the closeness of its universe possibly happening in our reality in future discoveries. I remember as a kid, my uncle would let me watch Star Wars on a Betamax. I did not understand any of the story, but I remember jumping and shouting with joy the whole time. The only thing I remember is I was so happy watching Star Wars. Not because of the story, but because of the flashy battles and the amazing visual effects at the time. However, when I grew up, I tried watching Star Wars again, including all the latest releases, and I realized that the lore is not so fleshed out if you only watch the movies. There was so much unknown behind the science of how a lot of tech worked. Mass Effect 1 arrived, and I thought, whatever, sure, I'll try it. I think I even played the first Mass Effect on a CRT monitor. Sooner than I knew it, I was hooked with the game story. Sure, the gameplay of Mass Effect was good, and there were decision choices in dialogues which I liked, but the main selling point of Mass Effect for me was its story and lore. Every little object in Mass Effect and the technology used, which we have no idea how it would work in real life, was explained in a way where it makes sense. Mass Effect's codex had a lot of really good and sufficient lore in it, even without consulting wikis. The game itself already gives you a very good picture about its background, history, events, or what I can expect in the universe. This is one of the major reasons I got so immersed with the game. I was able to appreciate everything I see around me in Mass Effect because of this. When you watch a movie, everything is so fast-paced, you wouldn't have a chance to understand how something worked. Sure, I can consult the wiki these days, but at the time, I only consulted with what I'm currently watching or playing. In Mass Effect, since it's a game, explanation is readily given and available. These days, even when I play other sci-fi space exploration games, and they also have in-game lore built within, none has surpassed Mass Effect's lore and story for me. Oh, and by the way, even if I can consult the wiki these days for lore in other sci-fi universes like that of Star Wars or Warhammer 40k, or heck even StarCraft, I still prefer Mass Effect. Don't get me wrong, I like Star Wars. I like Warhammer 40k. I like StarCraft. I just like Mass Effect more. In Mass Effect, however advanced a technology of an alien race may be, it is possible to learn it and develop it if you have the raw resources for it. We all live in the same physical universe, so it's all about science. In other sci-fi space type of thing stories, things that don't make sense are not explained in detail, where it could make sense in reality. The Force in Star Wars, for example, is hard for me to imagine that it can happen in reality someday. Some may say, "Oh come on, give it a break, it's science fiction." Well, so is Mass Effect, and I find most of its lore can happen in reality. Here, humans are humans. I think the type of sci-fi I like are sci-fi that makes sense in our present reality. Something I can think is possible to happen in the future. The closest to that so far, in my experience, is Mass Effect. Sure, other sci-fi space exploration is also believable and can happen in reality. But to me, Mass Effect combines the best parts and makes it my best sci-fi space exploration. It successfully made me appreciate space exploration sci-fi. In Mass Effect, it's like we as human beings will get to think that these things that are happening in the game are indeed possible in the future. Or maybe it's happening now to other races in distant parts of the universe. The way the story is told, about how humans and other species evolve, the First Contact War, how we are so young as a race, the reality that there are so many other alien races out there in the endless universe, that other advanced races have existed from a very long time ago that became super advanced and were eradicated, that there are supreme races that act as gods out there. All of these things in Mass Effect's lore are possible in our reality. That is why living in the world of Mass Effect makes sense. Everything is explained very well in an order where you'll simply just be amazed. Note that I mentioned endless universe before, because even in Mass Effect, no one has reached the ends of the universe. Then there's Mass Effect Andromeda, where it took the advanced races of the Milky Way galaxy 600 years of FTL speeds to reach the Andromeda galaxy. This distance is unimaginable, but possible, since in reality, we haven't really reached very far in space in Mass Effect levels. Finishing Mass Effects 1 to 3, I lie in bed sometimes, thinking how small we maybe really are, how so much is unknown out there in space. Maybe one day, we might learn of some advanced technology, or discover resources in space that can enable us to explore space even more. So much is unknown in our universe, but Mass Effect has shown me a possibility that can exist in the future even with all the unknowns of the present.